Welcome to the JD Power Technology, Media and Telecommunications podcast. My name is Andrew Heath. Pleased to welcome you to the first of a series of podcasts where we're going to be exploring insights from customers regarding the technology, media and telecom industries. Our focus, we're going to be looking to understand what customers are thinking about their providers, as well as then helping those providers better understand the customers with a view to improving services. Today's theme is customer experience, or CX. CX, the new battleground. So I'm really very pleased to be joined by Carl Lepper from JD Power. Hey, Carl.
Hey, Andrew. Thanks for having me.
Good to have you with us, Carl. And I'm also joined by Jenni Corwin from JD Power. Hi, Jenni.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Great to be there. It's going to be the three of us on this podcast. Excited as we get ready to talk through this question, CX, customer experience, the new battleground. I guess, maybe I'll ask you first, Carl. In terms of this being the new battleground, like many of our listeners probably thinking, well, hang on, what was the old battleground? So what are your thoughts? What was the old battleground for wireless service providers?
It's evolving every year. We're seeing it even in motion right now, but it was a lot of competition was around the quality of service. How good is the network? Do you get 4 bars? Do you have 5G? Are there a lot of dead spots that you're running into where you live with your particular provider? That was the biggest battleground for a very long time. And kind of our reasoning for CX being a new part of that battleground is that they've done such a good job of covering the United States and having great networks that have the ability to transfer into other networks as needed, depending on the situation, if it's a virtual network operator or a mobile network operator. So I think that was the battleground, but it's less so now. The gap in satisfaction around network quality is narrowing across the country.
It kind of makes sense, right? It seems a long time. Well, it is a long time from when some of the providers would have the message, "Can you hear me now?" That was a huge part of their position. Those days seem like a long time ago, right?
They really do. I've heard it in recent commercials almost as a mocking thing that they will do now, that used to be the big tagline for Sprint. So very interesting that you point that out because I have heard it recently.
Cool. Maybe, Jenni, your thoughts, thinking through what was the old battleground? Yep, so the old battleground, Carl has shared with us thoughts regarding, I guess network quality is probably the right way of calling that. Other things that you would have that we've highlighted that we see that customers respond to?
Yeah, I think price is always an issue, right? It's always a battleground for price, but it's more of a customer acquisition battleground and less of a customer retention battleground. So a great price seems to really be a draw to get customers in, but a lot of companies we see now, there's some sort of introductory or promotional offer. And once that expires, there's a bit more parity across the industry. So then you either have a situation where customers are going to start looking elsewhere for that next best price, or they're just so satisfied with the service that maybe they don't. So we do see in many of our studies that retaining customers based on price alone is pretty difficult. Obviously the product is important, but as Carl mentioned, we're kind of seeing such a good quality product across much of the industry that the next thing that really helps with customer retention is that customer experience and service.
Yeah, I think about it. Maybe similar to the network quality perspective, that you go back, actually not that long ago, but it's certainly a few years back, and people would be paying pretty high numbers for their wireless monthly bill, right? Over $100 was normal. In many cases, still is normal, but there's a lot of change and a lot of dynamics in the market that makes it way more affordable, and people are taking advantage of that. I think that I assume is driving a lot of what we see in terms of price still being critical. Affordability is important, but maybe it's not the primary thing once people have got a price level they get comfortable with, Jenni.
Yeah, I think that's it, really. I think once they've accepted a service at the price level that they're at and they're comfortable, unless something great comes along in terms of price, they're probably going to stay there as long as the service and the CX is there.
We're never going to find ourselves without people who shop on price only. That's always going to be the case. That's pretty true for every one of the service industries that we survey at JD Power. But it feels certainly now that it's become a lot more stable. Once you give them good service and people have got it and they get the right price, then they move on. So I guess that takes us into the next phase. So CX, the new battleground, Carl. So what does that mean? What are we thinking? Why is that one of the things that our team at JD Power is regularly saying as we're working with folks in the industry?
The way I would define CX, just for the purposes of talking it through, is that you're getting an experience with this brand. It's not just supplying something, it's not just providing you a product, but your overall experience with the brand is positive. Whether or not you've had to contact them, or you've had an issue, or you've had something that needed to be fixed, if something happens and the brand takes extremely good care of you, takes care of it, and really responds to your needs to the point where it's more than you expected from them, almost a red carpet treatment, we're seeing that have incredible dividends on the churn side from the area of likelihood to recommend. So, how likely would you recommend this product to somebody else? Well, I've had an outstanding experience. In fact, when I had to call them, they were wonderful. I got through quickly. It was easy to understand. I understand now my bill. It's not as complex. I'm getting what I need. All the pieces of the puzzle are coming together around CX. And that, I believe, is where the industry is understanding the battleground is now currently standing as a differentiator between different brands. And this is multiple industries. It could be the wireless industry, it could be the internet industry. It really is multiple industries that we're starting to see that.
And you mentioned the example there, Carl, of a customer who chooses to call their wireless service provider, but oftentimes I think it's in our data as well. It's the experience isn't necessarily just those reactive transactions. It can be the proactive, the actual wireless company choosing to reach out and tell you something that maybe you need to know that you weren't aware of.
No, that's absolutely true. How you're communicated with, is it, and Jenni has done some excellent research this. I might let her speak to this, but really there's a lot of good information around meeting people where they want to be met. And the better you can do that, really the better all around the overall experiences. And we have a couple excellent examples of brands that do that. We have on one end, and for kind of a specific group, a company like a Consumer Cellular who knows who they're working with, meets them where they want to be met, gives them outstanding customer experience, especially when there's a touch point, excellent touch point care interactions with Consumer Cellular. And on an internet side, the one who really seems to be standing out right now has been G Fiber. So Google Fiber has been outstanding. Simplify process. Here's what you're going to get. Here's what it's going to cost. They really do lock in a strong expectation of what you're going to get, and then they deliver it. And we've just seen people be incredibly pleased with that, and the results kind of talk for themselves in our experience. That these are companies that are winning the war of the CX with their customers.
Keeping things simple, trying not to bamboozle folks regarding technology. It's a great strategy. Jenni, Carl mentioned that you'd got some insights there regarding the right way to connect with people and where to meet with them.
Yeah, I think across many of our studies, and outside of just TMT, like other industries we cover as well, but within TMT we do see that different customers want to be addressed in certain ways, want to be contacted in certain ways. Some prefer the digital, some prefer the phone, and you need to be able to meet them where they are. And having that communication channel open where customers prefer it for the things that they prefer to, because we do find there are differences, right? Some people, if they've got a tough problem, they may still revert to the phone even though they're really digital most of the time. But if it's something quick, I want to review my account, I want to pay my bill, most customers gravitate towards a digital opportunity, especially younger customers. But some still want that phone channel. Some still want to go in person and talk to a live human being. So being able to meet customers where they want to be met, and able to service them in a way they want to be serviced is critical to customer satisfaction.
Great, thanks, Jenni. Well, as we're getting ready to wrap, I thought maybe what would be helpful, in addition to what we've talked about, anything else that you would say wireless internet service providers should focus on in terms of actions to take as a consequence of us moving to a world where CX is the new battleground? Maybe Carl, give us some thoughts on that.
The one that really stands out for me, and I've heard this, I don't personally see in what we take in that contact with someone from the phone is going to be easy to completely remove as a channel of contact. Yet a lot of the current information and the current way people are approaching things is, how do we make our automated systems so good that you don't need to call somebody? As an example, an AI situation or a good IVR system or a great app. These things are all beneficial and they're all going to help out. The question mark is, will they replace having an actual person to talk to? So for me, that's going to be the one. I don't feel that the phone call can be replaced, but then you have a brand like Visible who walks out there and says, you can't call us, but we have an app and we can chat with you that way. Or we have a website and we can contact you and work with you through that. So we're starting to see this evolution, I'll call it, of CX and that contact experience. It's kind of exciting to see who's doing it and how they're doing it and where things are moving.
Yeah, it's building on the theme that Jenni had earlier of meeting people where they want to be met. So, the customer that may choose consumer cellular may not be the same customer that would choose a service like Visible that you just highlighted, Carl, right? Jenni, some final thoughts from yourself?
Yeah, I think continuing with that theme of meeting customers where they want to be met, you also have to tell them. You have to tell them where you're at and how they can best get service from you. I think clear, open communication as much as possible around the offerings in terms of service and products that you're providing customers, just that awareness really raises satisfaction and allows customers to find the channels that work the best for them. So if something changes, allowing them some time, some education, notification about what has changed or what's different or how they might best reach you for certain things is pretty important in terms of just ensuring customers can maximize everything that you do have available.
Super, great. Well, thank you, Carl and Jenni. Everyone knows on this call, and if anyone is not aware, we pretty much are constantly surveying across the wireless, internet, TV industries to get customer feedback. We will continue to provide insights from this industry. If you would like further information, please do visit jdpower.com/business, looking for the technology, media and telecom section. I'd like to spend a moment just to thank everyone, our audience, for joining us today on today's podcast. And a bit of a teaser for what we'll be covering next. On our next podcast, we're going to get a little more in-depth into the potential upside as well as the potential downside associated with bundling. So a little more than just wireless, but also thinking through wireless, internet, TV, the combination and how customers respond to that, and a list of maybe some of the do's and don'ts associated with it. So thank you again for joining us on today's podcast, and look forward to connecting with everyone again soon.